Rogue Radio. Now available on Mixcloud at mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. Keep it rogue.
Hey guys, what's going on? Today is of course brought to you by Rogue Country and Rogue Radio. Rogue Radio is back after a bit of a hiatus. I am doing some guest episodes, and today's guest was on the first episode I dropped, Catherine the Great. Go check out over on Mixcloud. I'm super proud of the show. I'm going to be doing a new one every 2 weeks, so you can keep an eye on what songs I enjoy, what artists I'm loving, and yeah, I'm hoping you enjoy it as much as I've been enjoying making them. This episode goes out on the 4th of May, so me and Luke Hendrickson will have announced that we are doing a UK tour in April and May of 2022. I am so fucking excited for this tour. I'm just so hyped. I haven't toured in ages, obviously no one has. I haven't done a decent UK tour since 2018. I haven't done a good run of dates since then. So I'm absolutely hyped to be doing a full, huge UK tour. I'm so excited, and I really hope you get tickets. Sheffield, the tickets are available now for the Dorothy Pack, so you can head over to their website. I'll be dropping the link at the tour announcement post. And yeah, Luke Hendrickson is also crowdfunding for his new album over on Kickstarter, so head over to Luke's Facebook page, find that link, and go support his new record. It's all kicking off, guys. COVID only stopped us. It didn't finish us off, and I'm so excited to get back on the road and see you all. So please get your tickets when you can. And yeah, I'm gonna keep saying how excited I am because it's an actual tour and something to look forward to. Today's episode is of course brought to you by The Next Life, my debut record, and I'm finally gonna be able to tour this fucking thing after just being able to share it online. So come out to the tours. If you want to hear the songs before we play them, pick up a copy of The Next Life. I'm gonna drop in a teaser here now.
What if we never walk? What if we stay? What if we spent our life in a world we made? What if we slept all day and loved all night? What if we ran away to a peaceful life? All I'm asking, all I wonder, all I'm saying is don't go.
And I really hope you enjoy it. I'm super proud of this record. I've been saying it on every episode of the podcast, so you'll know by now. But if you haven't picked up a copy, please do. Please keep supporting my music, and I will be seeing you on the road. Today's guest is the phenomenal Catherine the Great. I first saw her posted. We had Rachel from Adobe and Teardrops on this podcast, and she's been sharing Catherine's music. So I started finding it through that way, and it's so well written and so well performed, and there's so much soul and there's so much heart that I had to sit down with Catherine. She was graceful enough and gracious enough to accept and sit down with me and talk songwriting, touring, the creative process, and so much more. And I'm absolutely happy and thrilled with this episode, and I hope you guys are too. So without further ado, let's do this. Episode 30 of Into the Van with Mike West and Catherine the Great. Welcome to Into the Van with me, Mike West. Cool, and we're rolling. So, just whereabout are you based at the moment?
I am in Southwest Virginia, so the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool. And what was the music scene, obviously before the pandemic and everything, what was the music scene like there?
Yeah, so I kind of got into, I moved here not really knowing anybody about 6 years ago, and I kind of got into it through playing bluegrass music and going to jams and, joined a band for a little bit. And so I kind of found sort of what was going on with songwriting and singer-songwriters through that. But I think that influence of kind of the bluegrass, jammy, old-time back porch culture is definitely super prevalent, you know. And something that I'm drawn to when I'm not playing my own stuff. I love sitting in on a jam, and I think you can hear that in my guitar playing as well, that bluegrass rhythm.
That's so cool. I'm so jealous. Like, my girlfriend showed me the Notebook a few months back where they've got like the open porch sessions where everyone's playing and dancing and stuff. And I'm so jealous that like that has never existed in the UK. And like, I wish I had a front porch to do that on. But with
Yeah, I
like,
think that's like kind of why Americana kind of culture, I think, is maybe a hit over there. You know,
with
it
like
seems like.
just people like coming together and playing and stuff. But with the bluegrass stuff, was bluegrass kind of your first exposure to music? What made you pick up a guitar?
It actually wasn't, which is kind of funny because I grew up in East Tennessee, which is, you know, the same mountain range, the same culture in a lot of ways, and I always kind of rejected that, like, kind of bought into the stereotypes of hillbillies and stuff. And so, like, the first guitar I bought was like a Squire Stratocaster that my twin sister and I shared in 7th grade, and we had like an emo band, like, and we wanted to play the Warped Tour, you know. So like, 9th grade me would like not care at all that like I got to do the Merle Fest contest or whatever. She'd be like, "That's lame. You're a sellout." But then as we got older, we were like, if people aren't going to come to our shows, we're going to carry less heavy equipment. So like drum kit and amps and stuff. And then I think really like hearing folks like Patty Griffin, and that just really resonating, and then moving backward from there. And so I feel like everyone who's kind of in the, you know, folky Americana avenue, a lot of them are going to list like Patsy Cline as a vocal influence, and then going backward. And really, I've always loved Dolly Parton because I'm from East Tennessee, and then embracing more of her influences as well. Getting really into the Carter family when I was 18 or 19, and then kind of like following those roots. Yeah.
It's
So
weird.
it took me a while to kind of come back to it. Yeah.
It's weird that it does seem to be like this kind of generation of folk and country artists where kind of punkier, rockier, you know, picked up electrics first and played in rock bands and stuff. But what obviously you said about equipment and stuff, was there a specific artist like Patty Griffin or anything that made you like switch and sell your guitar and pick up an acoustic, or was it kind of, you see, like what I did was I was in a metal band for ages, and then I realized that was kind of dead. It wasn't coming back, and I still wanted to play live, and I still wanted to write my own songs, and that was when I kind of found like the Johnny Cash American recordings and, you know, Blind Willie Johnson, all that blues kind of stuff where it was one man and acoustic. What was your journey to kind of make that switch?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because thinking back, and so I played with my twin sister in a band, and she was always kind of the dominant songwriter for the band, but I would like sing lead because I played guitar, and it was just easier that way. And I had a lot of songs that we never used because they were kind of like intrinsically a folkier sound that didn't work for our instrumentation. So I think I always kind of had an ear to be a folk singer, and just, you know, we kind of like sort of made our way towards more of an acoustic ensemble, and by the end it was like banjo and guitar when we were playing together. But now that we live in different places and have solo projects, like she's making that kind of indie pop music again, and I'm a folk singer, so it's kind of like we each had that distinct voice, but because we were playing together, we compromised in different ways.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and like we grew up listening to like the oldie station, you know, so like things like Fleetwood Mac or like even like Donovan, like those formative influences that before you even know what they are, you know, like early Beatles. I always loved the melodic structure there.
I think what you found with like when you were younger, growing up with like bluegrass and stuff, and kind of being like anti it, because I'm from Liverpool, where the Beatles are.
Of course.
I've never listened to them, and it's one of those things.
Well, I hate John Lennon, so give me hate in the comments, but I think Paul McCartney is a brilliant pop songwriter. I'll give him that.
Yeah. I nearly got to see Paul McCartney live the other year. I had tickets for this thing, like to go to a TV show in Liverpool that they were filming, and it fell through. And because it fell through, they went, "Oh, if you get to this pub on this date, and there's space, you can go watch someone playing." And they wouldn't tell you who it was or anything. And I thought it was Taylor Swift. I'm a bigger Taylor Swift fan than I am a Paul McCartney fan. But I was like, "Oh, it might be here," because she was playing like the arena, like down the road. So I was like, "Oh, that'd be cool." So we went to the pub, and we were like 3 people back from getting in, so we didn't get to go in. And it turned out it was Paul McCartney doing this set in this old pub, like next to the Philharmonic. But I've never really got the Beatles, and I understand there's a lot of like John Lennon hate, and it's it's weird because you have all
Well,
these,
he was a
like,
domestic abuser, so I think
yeah.
it's valid to.
So you have all these like icons, and obviously with kind of the modern movement of people being called out for their sins, you have like Bowie and people like that and Jimmy Page. And it's interesting to see how those icons are looked at in a new light and held accountable for those things, which they should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way I think about it is, there are so many people that weren't given those opportunities, and given that airtime. So I'm happy to hold them to account and kind of give that space to maybe more marginalized folks,
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've never really been able to like separate art from artist, especially
sure.
in terms of songwriting and things where it's such a personal thing that you can't really separate them because it's who they are led to those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, and I definitely think we have to give people grace to grow and atone for what they've done, but, there's also, being honest about it is important too.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like, what really inspired me to kind of go acoustic, I would definitely say like, honestly, this might like be a little cringe now, but the artist I heard when I was like 16 or 17 that really made me want to kind of move acoustically, I think was like Missy Higgins. I don't know if you remember like her first couple records. She's Australian.
No.
And she had a couple kind of like, I don't know, like indie radio hits where I was living. Yeah, and it was like kind of poppy but still acoustic guitar. And that was kind of, I think, what started for me. And then like Brandi Carlile, like around that time, she was, kind of blowing up the first time, which I listened to Rachel on your podcast and I totally agreed with what she was saying about Brandi Carlile. And it's kind of why I'm like not as big of a fan now. But when I was like 17 or 18, seeing her and the Twins live, like doing an acoustic set, I was like, oh, like I could do that.
Yeah.
Like in a way that felt it felt aspirational, but it felt attainable in a way that was really inspiring.
Yeah, that's the really interesting thing. And I think acoustic, like writers and acoustic artists, it seems more attainable than like, I'm a huge Kiss fan, which seems a million miles away from, reality because it's all the pyro, it's all the like wall of amps and things. But someone up on a stage with a guitar just singing seems so attainable. And I think that kind of that influence and that inspiration's really kind of underplayed because you always see like Jimi Hendrix as the guitar god or whoever made everyone pick it up, but also you see like Kurt Cobain with an acoustic guitar, and that probably launched a lot more people as well in terms of wanting to play.
Yeah, and I don't know if like Guitar Center is a thing in the UK,
no.
But as someone like being read as a woman and going into a guitar store, especially if you're playing electric guitar, you can go in knowing exactly what you want, being like, I want this particular Boss distortion pedal because I'm playing a rock band and I want that sound. And they'll just be in like, are you sure that's what you want? And so I think I also just got tired of like dealing with like men being jerks about gear,
Yeah.
And so if I show up with an acoustic guitar, I can immediately show you that I know how to play it. And they kind of shut up,
No, definitely. I can't stand those gear talks. Like I've
Yeah,
never.
I mean, I love to geek out about gear and sound stuff. And I was a trumpet player in school, and there was a thing there like, well, this new fancy mouthpiece made me. No, you got to just be a good player and a good musician. Like the gear's fun, but it's And I feel that way about guitars, where like, you'll meet someone with like a $10,000 guitar and they can play like 2 chords. Like, okay, what's it for?
Yeah, I always kind of get annoyed when you see like an opening band or something. They're all kids, but they've got like top of the line Gibsons. And it's just like, I know that was bought for you, and I know you're trying your best, but really, like,
I always kind of had a chip on my shoulder about that, like playing off-brand or playing an Epiphone or
But what's your main guitar that you use now? Because on Personhood and Jigsaw Puzzles, the guitar tone on that's killer.
Yeah, I love this guitar. It's a Blue Ridge BG 160, which is basically their Gibson J45 knockoff, but it's like a slope shoulder dreadnought. I think I can't remember what strings I was playing at the time of Personhood, but I used that same guitar on both albums, and I've got the nickel bronze strings, the Diodario. And I really like it. Finger picks well, it flat picks great. And then I use a couple of different electric guitars on the record sometimes, but that's that's my workhorse that I use for pretty much every live gig. Yeah. Every time I'm tracking. Yeah, it's a great little guitar. It's kind of a, a little bit of a knockoff. I bought it with like a broken, repaired neck, so it was already scratched up, so I didn't worry about it. But we've done some fun things, me and that guitar.
Yeah, that guitar tone on those records was so like it's got like a depth and a warmth to it. That was one of the first questions I wanted to ask you was what guitar you were
Yeah,
playing with on those.
I think it's rosewood and mahogany are the two primary woods there. But yeah, I love that little guitar. Hopefully it stays with me for a long time until I can afford something nicer. But for what it is, it's great.
Yeah. And with like coming up with like those bluegrass sessions and stuff, did that kind of hone your acoustic playing and things? Is like, did you learn anything particular from those?
Yeah, I mean, I had played guitar for a while, like probably 10 years before kind of moving to Virginia and trying that style. And I really only knew like, some Carter family songs and basic rhythm. And it was really baptism by fire because I ended up playing with this family of just like virtuosic bluegrass musicians on every instrument, like mandolin world champion. And I would literally just like steal riffs from them, like play along, make my wrist sore trying to keep up with the speed that they play things at, and then slowly incorporate. So now I feel, pretty comfortable taking a solo riff or something like that. And I feel like my timing's pretty solid as a result. So it was definitely, yeah, I used the phrase baptism by fire because I was hanging on by the seat of my pants for like a year there. Yeah, and we kind of like, it was kind of organic in that they sort of stopped calling me for gigs, and at the time I was kind of like annoyed, and then I realized in retrospect, like that opened up, all this space for me to start writing again and playing my songs, and then I've gotten to do so many cool things since then, so it was really kind of a blessing. Yeah.
Cool. And with that space opening up, was it that kind of perfectly timed with ideas for songs, or had you written songs before then and were kind of waiting for the opportunity to go try them out?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote songs, with my sister for a while, and as we were sort of like parting ways at the end of college, like we just took jobs in different places and kind of struck out on our own. I had all these songs that kind of didn't have a home, and I just didn't play them for anyone, so I kind of had a back catalog and then started pushing myself. And playing solo is so scary when you've been part of a duo, because like my twin is kind of the extrovert, like she's kind of the personality, so like the hard part wasn't really the songs themselves, it was like learning to talk on stage. I don't know if you deal with that, like playing solo gigs where you're just like, I guess I talk now.
Yeah, I remember like when I first, before I even started in like a band and things, I wanted to be in a band really badly. I wanted to like sing and stuff, but I had crippling stage fright where I couldn't even like speak on stage or speak in front of large groups or anything. And it was a really weird twist when I think I had the band and there was like 3 other people with me. That kind of let me come out my shell. But then with the metal thing, it's still like a front, it's still posture, and it's not really me. So the weirdest thing for like this was to then be open and honest and actually talk on stage and stuff. But one of the things I really enjoy, I'm like a big stand-up fan. And I loved like when it came like Dave Chappelle or someone, like they let things breathe on stage. Like they don't have to fill every space with talking. So I sometimes try and approach it as if I'm obviously not, but as if I was a stand-up comic, where it's like I get to say things and kind of let it breathe. I'm comfortable with like silence now, which is handy when there's like 3 people at a show.
Yeah, I never thought about the silencing. I'm a huge fan of stand-up, I think partly because it seems so magical to me, because I just feel like that's not a skill set I have. Like music, I can wrap my head around it, even if someone's, very different from me or really remarkably talented, like I get it. Stand-up, I'm like, that's magic. But yeah, I have to deal with a lot of quiet in my day job. I think that's helped me a lot with anxiety too, just like, again, letting that silence say what it needs to say, for sure.
Yeah, because that's, I think, especially obviously you came from like the same like indie rock background where everything has to be like hard and fast and everything has to move. And when you switch to acoustic, to let things breathe is like a scary skill in and of itself, because it's like, in a metal band you can let a chord ring, but there'll still be something filling that silence. But in an acoustic, if you let that chord ring, you've let that ring, and that has to resonate with people. And it's the same thing. If I'm talking about a song beforehand, it has to have that same like depth or weight to it, where you have to let it breathe. Otherwise, people may miss what you said, or mishear it, or take it in a different context. So I think, especially because I talk about like hometown stuff, or I'll go on a political rant, I never want to be misconstrued. So I always have to make sure that I talk slow, and I have to make sure that I talk slow, because I remember I did a gig for a live stream the other week, and I was talking so fast I had to like literally take a step back, and I literally thought of like Dave Chappelle and was like, let's begin again, and like take that step back.
Yeah, that's like I've had to learn to work with kids, and that's like always been my number one hurdle. It's just like you gotta speak slow enough that they can process what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the intimacy of that, it's like it's at times more terrifying to kind of learn how to do, like as a solo performer or folk singer. But I think on the other hand, the rewards are so much greater. Like you talk to folks after the show, and they feel like they know you, and they do because you shared so much, and just by sharing that experience, like you kind of know them too. And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned recently, like last year, because I was on tour with Amigo the Devil, who's got a really like honest terms of songwriting, and his fans are rabidly loyal and hang off like every word he says, but he's so brutally honest in like his depression or his viewpoints and things. And I was looking at him and being like, how do I open myself up in a way that's not necessarily gimmicky, or I don't want to like lean on something for the sake of leaning on something, well, how do I just be honest about these songs or how I'm feeling at the moment? And that's been a really interesting thing. And that has been people come up to you after shows and go, me too, or oh my god, like I felt the exact same way. And that's been a really interesting thing as a songwriter.
Yeah, it's led to some really, really lovely conversations, and I'm always super grateful for people for sharing back. Like it's really special.
Yeah, but in terms of your songwriting with like personhood, did you have anything in mind when you were approaching that? Because obviously you had a back catalogue of songs you'd written with your sister and stuff. Did you come in with any new songs for that, or was there an approach where it was like, I don't have a duo anymore, so I want to make this a personal record?
Yeah, well, and even when I played with my sister, we always wrote independently. We never co-wrote. So they were all solo compositions. It was just not writing with the ear towards arranging. And just the way that one turned out, it was just solo live takes, tracking everything at once, trying to get that performance. And part of it was just because I felt like I needed something after having not made a record for like 3 or 4 years at that point. But I felt like thematically it kind of came together. There's one track on there, Orlando, that was, I wrote the morning that we got the news about the Pulse shooting in Orlando, Florida. And it was just like a really raw depiction of grief and anger, and a couple songs like that were more recent. Simple Piece of Paper I wrote after, I don't know if it was news over there, but there was this woman called Kim Davis in Rowan County, Kentucky, who refused to like sign same gender marriage certificates. We had the Supreme Court decision finally legalizing marriage equality like across the United States. And at the job I was working at the time, some woman was like, good for her for standing in her truth or whatever. And I didn't react in the moment, but I went home and wrote a song about it, which I think most songwriters can deal with. So as like a queer person, just like trying to express, like the humanity behind the other side, for someone who had that like religious fundamentalism. And I'm pretty sure that woman bought a copy of my record later. So, but so there were a few songs that were clearly inspired by events that were happening. Prefabricated, I wrote like around the time or before the 2016 election, just kind of writing about sort of the lies that conservatives have tried to sell, and trying to kind of tap into, I guess, like, at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all suffering. So what's there? And that kind of felt like a common thread to that record. It really felt like just like, I don't know, kind of going out my own independently, like kind of without my family for the first time in this new to me culture that was at times very familiar and at times like very different. Just this very specific culture where I live now, and exploring that. So there's some of the songs were older, like there was one about my grandmother, but it was really just like learning to find my own voice. Feels like that's what that album was.
Was there a particular song on there? Obviously you talk about the election and different like events, but was there a song where you kind of honed in and felt that was the first or best time that it encapsulated your voice?
I don't know. I think the song that I always talk about with that album is Tomatoes, just because that was the one that won at Merlefest and kind of made people, I guess, like it was validating that I was doing okay on my own. But that was also, I think, probably the least personal song on that record. So to me, that song feels like kind of where my craft was solidified, although it wasn't autobiographical, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, and I think as far as like, I don't know, the one of the ones that I'm probably most like just personally fond of on that record is called I Know. And it was just, a song I wrote. I think I wrote it kind of as an apology at the time, but it's one that always feels true to sing and feels very much like a little autobiographical and like kind of reflecting on just my childhood to the person I am now and how relationships and love have kind of helped me grow into that, so I'm grateful for that song and grateful that it still feels true, I guess. Yeah.
No, I made a note of I Know, because that felt like almost like a prequel or, a tease to what would be like the song Be Your Own Dad. And was that...
Yeah, that's an interesting connection. Yeah, I think they're both, so I would say that I Know is more kind of standing in the like the joy of growing out of maybe like an unhappy childhood and sort of creating my own family, whatever that looks like. Whereas Be Your Own Dad was more like I never expressed that to him. So kind of expressing like both really acknowledging the harm and pain there, but also I think like I'm glad you pointed that out, because I think people think Be Your Own Dad is a sad song, or that's a word that gets used a lot. And I think there is also like sort of a defiant joy there as well, that like even if, the roots I was given didn't grow into a tree, I was able to replant elsewhere and like make something beautiful.
No, definitely. I think I saw you post a while ago about how there's not necessarily sad songs, it's emotional songs, and people get confused or like they misinterpret something as, it's emotional, so it's sad. It doesn't have to be sad, it's emotional. Like I viewed Be Your Own Dad, it broke my heart when I first heard it, but it was because I can relate to so many people I know that have gone through the same thing, and to see them become stronger through it. It's not necessarily sad, but it's
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, when I think about like what do I cry at movies and commercials and other music, it's never like pure sorrow, it's feeling deeply human and feeling deeply connected to other people even. So yeah, that connection, I think. Yeah, and I think, we kind of have a discomfort with emotions that are uneasy and label them with broad brushes as sad or mad or bad, which can be helpful to narrow it down, but yeah, I think sad is so like, I don't know, not lazy, but it's so limiting for all the things that we can feel and think about, especially with songwriting. I'm never like, I'm sad, I'm going to write a song. It's like there's a very particular experience that I want to capture.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, and I think as songwriters, you kind of have to look beyond sad, but if you aren't in that kind of... Because sometimes I have to stop myself, because I'll start feeling, sad or run down or, just like morose. And I'll start thinking of lyrics or something, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, I just need to feel this for now. And I have to kind of take that analytical step back to just be in that moment and feel that way. But I think as songwriters, or as like, any poets or artists, you take those emotions and you find a way to fit them together to express yourself and move through it. While if you don't necessarily have that thought process, you do just see something as, oh, he made this because he's sad. Like a lot of like Vincent van Gogh stuff could be just seen as, depression, instead of him trying to like heal through it.
Yeah, and I love what you said about giving yourself space. I think I did that subconsciously. Like I wrote a song about my grandmother 5 years after she died, like I needed that time to work through it, and then she just came to me one day. And yeah, I also think, what you said about Van Gogh and everything, like I definitely don't buy into the like tortured artist myth.
No.
I don't think that we need to like neglect our well-being to write at all. There's so much to mine from, and I think that's why I'm also maybe particular about the sad thing, because like I've worked very hard to work through my stuff so that I can feel like a, if not always happy person, a pretty grounded person. Yeah, and songwriting is part of that, to like create those containers for it, so that we can experience that without it being overwhelming.
No, definitely. And I think because that's what I always try and do is like, as I kind of approach stuff with like a songwriter or critical analysis, I always want to try and get to the root of something. So it's not just I'm sad, it's I'm sad because, and then dig deeper into that. And there's a lot of, it is an uncomfortable truth when you have to kind of face what's actually making you sad or what's making you depressed or angry, or, you know, whether it's like you're in a relationship or you're just stressed about something else, but you're just in a state of denial. And it is an uncomfortable thing, I think. And that's, I think, like your record, Jigsaw Puzzles and Wine, was a really good example of someone who's not writing sad songs. They're reflective and emotive, and they want you to question why you feel that way, I think, from like what I've heard of your music.
Yeah, I love that. That's super flattering. Thank you. Yeah, I always talk about, when I'm talking about songwriting, thinking about just planting seeds, you know, and letting them germinate. And sometimes that looks like a hook, and sometimes it's a theme, and sometimes it's just a feeling. Yeah, I had a supervisor in my music therapy internship who like taught me to be really comfortable with my clients crying. Because I was working in hospice, so there's a lot of tears around that, but also to like acknowledge that like crying is always a good thing in life, in the therapeutic space, and that those tears have something to say, you know, and that like we had the catchphrase like there are no bad tears, which I've attempted to put into a song for years and it's never quite worked. So maybe someday, but it's what I kind of hold on to, like with either, you know, as a performer, like if people are telling me my songs made them cry, I'm like, well, that's a good thing. What were those tears saying for you? There was something that needed to be released. So I'm grateful I can make that happen, you know, instead of being like, oh, I made you sad. It's more than that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But like with obviously your songs, what was kind of the reaction when you first started playing live with, you know, your solo, like original stuff?
Yeah. So kind of my first solo stuff was like these weird little like competitions locally. Like there was one called Smith Mountain Lake Idol, which is just like, Smith Mountain Lake is kind of like a like vacation community like in my county. Like there's a lot of like retirees and stuff. And so like I did that and ended up winning, and then it was like a year later I was at Merle Fest, you know. So it was just kind of like this kind of goofy thing playing for a bunch of like drunk Republicans, but it was validating in its way. And I met some really good people. There are some real people in the competition. But like the people, we were playing at like a restaurant, you know, for like a bunch of like, I don't know, transplant retirees at a lake. Like, and it took me a hot minute to kind of figure out like, I'd say Roanoke is probably the like closest kind of bigger town and the songwriter scene there. So yeah, it felt like a lot of kind of stumbling because I wasn't in a place, like I went to school in Athens, Georgia, which I'm sure you've probably heard of the music scene there. Like, it's pretty legendary. It's a college town. And it took us a minute to find like our specific niche, but there was also Eddie's Attic in Atlanta, like this clear folk scene. So where I am now, yeah, it was a lot of kind of fumbling. But I think in some ways that was good because it was like kind of cutting my teeth sometimes playing in places where people weren't really listening or didn't really care. Which makes you have to be really clear about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And then when you get to go to those, you know, amazing things like Rocky Mountain Folks Fest or Merle Fest, like, and people are there for the music and they love songwriting, then you recognize like what a privilege that really is.
Cool. And with Merle Fest, so you did the songwriting competition there. Were you on the festival as well? How did that?
It's just like, so there's like the competition is like Friday afternoon, and then there's like 4 categories, and the winners we got to like play like on the main stage like Friday night, like during a break. So you're like on the big Jumbotron and like, yeah, I mean, it was neat. I got to see the festival for free, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And like with all that experiences, did that lead into Jigsaws? Because I kind of felt that was a road record in some ways with like what you make running out and like out of town, or it felt like those experiences really impacted you for the next record.
Yeah, it's not, I don't really tour a lot. Like I'll do short runs, especially like I play in some other bands or as like a side person, if you will. I don't tour as much by myself just because I don't want to, especially. But I think it was definitely influenced by kind of travel and growing and sort of the metaphor of that. What you make, actually, I'll tell you the story behind that, was actually inspired by the worst audience I've ever been a part of. I don't know if you listen to Shovels and Rope at all.
Mm.
They're one of my like favorite live bands to see. Like I just think live they have something really special. And I've seen them a couple times, and it's always been great. And we had tickets to see them in Lynchburg, which is kind of a town on the other side of me. And Lynchburg is probably best known for Liberty University, which is like super fundamentalist. Like it's just kind of this like, I don't know, hyper right wing. I just think of it as not being a particularly generous place because of the big university there and its ethics. But we went to see them there, and it was just like this packed crowd full of people just talking the whole time. Like you could tell they were getting ready to play a soft song in the set, and they just canceled it and did something else. Like they just like, you know, basically turned it into a rock show because that was all they could do. And I just remember being like, these folks are so successful. They've made it in every measure in the Americana world. And they played a sold-out show, basically, which should be great. And yet it was I could tell just by being close to the stage that it was an awful experience for both of us, you know? So it's kind of, that song was just kind of like, even when you're successful, like, there's still a mountain of trash sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a really weird one. I saw Hosier. I love his first record. I really like his EP with like Mavis Staples and stuff. And I remember I saw him just as he broke in Liverpool, and it was amazing. And then he came back after his EP, and we saw him in this huge venue in Manchester, and everyone just fucking talked through the entire event.
Right.
And I can't.
Like, what does that success mean?
Yeah. So then I'm kind of like, if someone makes it, I don't want to go see them live anymore because I know the crowd are there to just hear "Take Me to Church," and then just talk the entire way through. So it's all those acoustic, like slow, soft songs you just can't pay attention to, and it's heartbreaking to see when someone attains like a level of success or, you know, a fan base, for then that fan base to turn around and shit on it. It was a really weird thing, and that makes sense with that What You Make song, because you have like you could play a recording for free or for cheap. So it's like, so why am I here to have to deal with this? And I've like, on a smaller scale, I've dealt with that in like gigs.
Yeah, I mean, that versus definitely like bar gigs and that kind of thing, where it's just like you're playing to people that are like, they want to be seen at live music, but they don't care about the music itself.
Yeah, like that's I've stopped playing any festival that has insert town name here live, because it's just people wanting to get drunk in the street, and they aren't there for the music, so I just don't play them anymore. The last two festivals that I had to play with a town name live, I had to tell the bar to switch the overhead music off while I was playing.
Yeah, I've had to do that a few times. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's humbling, but it definitely, I always think about that Gillian Welch lyric, and everything is free, you know, like, if it's something that you want to sing, you can sing it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and this year especially, I think, has made a lot of us reconsider, like, why do we make music? Who is it for? Is it any less valuable if I'm just writing songs and singing them to my dog, as opposed to, like, trying to quote unquote make it, you know? And it definitely ties into like critiques of capitalism too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard one. Like, I've got a friend who's a country singer, and I've been like, obviously I got a gig booked this week, so I was like, oh, I've got a gig, and he was like, I don't know if I can be asked ever doing a live show again. And he's just can't see that value to it at the moment, just because it's been so long. He's just like, I can't really be asked traveling. I can do it through Zoom, like, and it is one of those things where it's like, well, what are you actually performing for?
And now thinking about like, who are the people who would come to a live music event right now? You know, I don't think they're necessarily like the target audience you want, anyways, as far as listeners, because I think of those people as being more concerned about other people, so they're gonna stay home.
Yeah, especially now with like live shows, like over in the UK, all our pubs and everything are closed, so there's zero live music and zero gatherings and stuff. But when it starts coming back, it's going to be interesting to see when outdoor shows start coming back and things, and kind of what is, because I see a lot of people going, I'd go to watch, you know, ABBA or someone like they can't stand, and to just to go out and watch something, and it's like, well, I don't really want to be playing a gig if someone's just there because it's a chance to go out and get hammered.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, I've been wanting to kind of be more intentional about what I play for a while, so there have been certain gigs that have fallen away where I'm just like, this is kind of a blessing, you know? Sometimes it just feels like it's hard, and for what?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing, and that's why I've cut out like all pub gigs out of like my shows and stuff. I just don't play them because I don't enjoy them, and the crowd's not anything I'm really interested in doing. I'm not playing any Weatherspoons and stuff, but it is a weird one to where it's like, what am I doing this for? But with kind of, do you have future plans for gigs and stuff? Obviously, you haven't toured much. Is there a reason behind you not really wanting to tour?
Well, I actually had like for 2020, was planning to do like a duo run in the UK and
Really?
maybe do some like East Coast stuff, just traveling a little bit more with another songwriter. But yeah, I think part of it is just with my day job when that's been more consistent. Historically, I've been able to travel more in the summer. But yeah, I think this year just kind of made me like not even want to plan, you know? But I like to do like short runs, you know, of a week or two, but not necessarily like on the road all the time.
Yeah.
Just because I'm kind of a homebody, and I really like routine, and I get kind of like overstimulated by a lot of like big crowds and stuff. Like if I'm at a festival, like I'll try and see who I really want, and then make sure I have like decompression time. Like it's not my scene, just because of how my brain works. Yeah, so I was hoping to, you know, in 2020 do a little bit more like focus gigging. And yeah, it's just kind of exhausting to talk about this being like, oh, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I do like I really enjoy either like doing a consistent bill with somebody else, like trading songs like in the round or swapping back and forth, you know, playing on each other's stuff. Or like I do play in a couple bands like locally or did. And it just feels easier to be on the road with other people. Like I've never wanted to really travel extensively for a long time by myself.
With like UK dates and stuff, who are you meant to be coming over with, or?
Yeah, so Amy Andrews has been over a couple times by herself doing different gigs, and so I produce her records and play on them. So either just playing like in her band or smaller gigs like swapping. So that was kind of our eventual plan. So it might happen again.
Oh, amazing! Well, I really hope you come over to the UK because I'd love to see one of your shows. But that is one of the things where it's bittersweet to talk about tours and things that could have been, especially like in the UK. We've had Brexit, so the whole of Europe's shut off.
Oh
to me now.
yeah.
So I have no idea what I'm actually going to do in terms of touring for a while because it's so up in the air in terms of just doing the UK or
Like you'll have to actually get visas to go over to mainland Europe.
yeah. Instead of like last time, it was literally I just drove down in my van, got a ferry, and then carried on as normal with like no impediment. But who knows what's going to be the future for that now.
Yeah. Ugh.
But with like I wanted to talk about your SoundCloud and stuff because you released a demo through that, which is Some Falls. What TV show, what like was that inspired by?
Yeah, so I watched a lot of TV in the pandemic, like everybody else. And one of the shows I really liked was Dead to Me on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah, so like the main character like basically hits a guy in the back of the head with a bird, right, that kills him. And I was just thinking about that character and kind of like thinking about like in folk music how there are so many murder ballads where women get killed by men. So it's kind of a prime opportunity to flip that script and like murder an abusive man in a song. Yeah, so that was basically I was just, you know, playing around in drop D and the song kind of happened and I dug it and I sent it to some friends and they're like, oh, this is cool. So I was like, I'll post it and not tell people exactly what it's about and see what they think. So yeah, I don't know if I owe like Liz Philman credit for that or whatever, but I'm not monetizing it right now, so just a little like musical fan fiction, I guess.
Nice.
I do write a lot of songs like kind of from like random characters or whatever in fiction. I don't know if you do that at all.
I've written one, I've never released it, but I've done one from Frankenstein's point of view after he fell from the windmill.
Oh, nice. Okay. I think
like
that's public domain now, right? So.
yeah, as like a bridge between the first Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, that song fits into that part. And I just wrote it, I had like this idea, and I'm obsessed with the Universal Monster films, and I just had them on repeat loads. Where like before I moved out and met my partner and stuff, I'd literally just sit in my room and watch a Universal Monster movie while playing guitar and just like running shapes and stuff. But I've got that, and then a lot of things are based on books and stuff, just because, you know, if you can't draw from your own experience, and, you know, the tortured artist thing is kind of a prevalent myth, but it's like there's so much out there that you can pull from that you don't need to pull from, you know, a traumatic experience or even fabricate one. But so there's a lot of fictional stuff, but what kind of fictional influences have you drawn from other than like Dead to Me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a big lover of TV in general, for sure. But I do love like short stories. Alice Munro, for sure, and just like Southern kind of like the Southern canon of literature was a formative influence for sure. Like Eudora Welty and all that kind of stuff. Appalachian writers like Lee Smith or Silas House. Yeah, but I think narrative, you know, I agree with you as far as having like that outside influence, or just, I think to take existing art, whether it's like painting or TV, movies, literature, poems, and kind of transmogrify it into like a different art form is sometimes a really useful creative exercise, like just to do it for the craft element. Or there's, you know, a phrase that jumps out, like, yeah, I've definitely like stolen lines of dialogue and put them in songs before, you know.
Oh, same.
Just because of the way it sounds to your ear, you're like, that's music.
Yeah.
Even if someone's speaking it.
Yeah, I've got there's a song called Rock Ferry I've got, and I've literally taken a line from True Detective where it said, "This is a memory of a town," and I just was like, that's mine now. I'm putting that into a song.
Yeah, I took the hook of Bones I took from like an episode of like Call the Midwife or something. Like, you know, that like Vanessa Redgrave like voiceover that's just like super weepy. What I do love about songwriting is that I think it there's something about it that lets you get away with stuff that would look really cheesy on a page. You know, where you can kind of sell it or find the truth in it, and then you like look at the words and you're like, this is awful, but if for some reason it really works, I think that's kind of magic.
No, it is. And with kind of like some falls, have you been working on anything else new lately? Like, do you have an idea for a record in the future?
Yeah, I've considered just like recording an EP at home, you know, because I have my gear out and I'm working on other stuff. But I don't know. I've been kind of writing some about just more family stuff. Yeah, not really necessarily writing to any end goal, but processing a few things. I had been, so before the pandemic hit, like literally before the pandemic hit, I was planning on recording a record with one of the bands I play in, and I'm kind of, you know, one of two songwriters in the trio. So I had a lot of songs for that had this home, and it's kind of like they call it hot folk. So it's like banjo, fiddle, guitar, upright bass, like kind of more of that, you know, old time sound. And I had 3 or 4 songs that we were planning to record for that, you know, I don't know if and when that record's going to happen, and I really like those songs. So I'm contemplating recording them solo just to have them kind of for people to listen to. Because like I said, like I felt really good about them, and it kind of felt like I was like sending my strongest stuff to this project, and this band was going to do amazing things, and now it's like none of us really want to ever leave the house ever again. So yeah, and so some of those were like I have this song called Woman's Work that I really like, which is kind of a reinterpreting all those traditional folk songs where kind of a man goes traveling and doing all these things and wondering, like, the woman who's left behind at home, what's her perspective? You know, does she feel trapped? Does she feel resentful? I really like that one a lot, and people always at live shows really dug it, so I might, make a little EP of just unreleased stuff that I'm proud of, and just more showcasing the songwriting, maybe producing it a little less than Jigsaw Puzzles.
Oh, awesome. And with that project, do you approach songwriting differently? Is it less of like personal things? And obviously you look at those tropes in other songs, like you've looked at the murder ballad trope, and you've looked at the guy traveling. Is there a mindset to that where you see these cliches in music and you're like, what if we spun these?
Yeah, I would say with that particular band, After Jack, definitely the stuff that I'm bringing forward is less personal. So if something feels like really intensely specific or personal, I tend to save it for myself. Just because I really want like final say on like the production and just what's done with it, versus like the other band, like I'll even be like, I wrote this song and I really like it, but you can sing lead on it, and that's cool, you know. Yeah, and things that'll more fall into like be an interesting twist on an existing trope, or really lend themselves to kind of more of that traditional sound.
Cool. And the first song I listened to you was "We'll Eat the Rich for Christmas,"
Yeah.
which I fucking love.
Thank you.
What was the like? It's kind of glib or reductive to say what was the meaning behind that song, but how did that first come about? Was it the
Yeah.
lyrics or?
I mean, I think as far as like I write lyrics and melody at the same time always. To me, they're inextricable, but just as part of my process. But I think like many people my age, I've progressively radicalized over the past like 5 years. Like the other day, I was like talking to my mom, and I was like, "Mom, I'm a communist." She was like, "I still love you." But yeah, just like having feeling like there's so much, I think, generational anger right now that's absolutely valid, and trying to make it not like, I mean, you use the word glib, but like tongue in cheek, but also completely serious.
Yeah.
But just to find like a little bit of like the joy in that fight, I think was sort of the inspiration for that. And it honestly just started like, I have a friend, and I joked that I was going to write him a Christmas song called "We'll Eat the Rich for Christmas," like for years. And I finally just sat down and made it happen. So it was just like kind of a gift from my friend. But as I played it at live shows, like people are like super into it. It kind of became the sing along, and yeah, it's always a fun one to finish on. And sometimes I play it where I'm like, am I going to get in trouble? But I don't care. So it makes me feel a little closer to my punk roots for sure.
No, definitely. And that was one that resonated because it does have that like punk protest to it that I'm like all over, especially for like acoustic things. And like, it is that generational thing where it just seems that people are in a state of, they look around and they realize this isn't how things should be. And I'm just hoping that we get to the point where we can actually like realize what we can do and actually make these things change for the better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like, that's one of the benefits to me of not being on the road this year, is that I've been able to invest more in like community organizing and getting with people who are already doing the work where I live. And yeah, instead of just singing about it, trying to do a little bit more to help out.
Yeah, no, I did a deep dive on your Twitter today.
Oh boy.
I saw one thing where it was like you knocked on doors for, is it HRC? Is that Clinton?
Oh, well, that was a very long time ago.
Well,
yeah, I wouldn't do that again, but
I was gonna say, because that was like in your more establishment-friendly youth, and you got fuck all in return. Was that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of, yeah. And where I live, it's like to even be, like big tent Democrat is relatively far left. And it did feel like at that point, like the 2016 election was something that mattered. So helping that fight was something that mattered. And then, there have been, I don't know if the news about the governor of Virginia and his blackface scandal broke where you live.
No.
So yeah, I think that particularly the statewide politics probably disillusioned me more than anything national. And the Mountain Valley pipeline fight. So I don't know if like pipeline news is a thing over there, but basically they're building this natural gas pipeline that's going through West Virginia and Virginia, and I think North Carolina, and people have been fighting it for over 3 years. Like people like living in trees for hundreds of days. Yeah, it's really hardcore. But it's the type of thing where like the Democratic Party in Virginia could have stopped it anytime they wanted to.
Yeah.
But they're in the pocket of business and big oil as well. Like, so things like that have definitely disillusioned me a lot more than anything else, as far as like Dominion Energy in Virginia owns everybody regardless of party, Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, because obviously you're doing this community work and stuff now, but from like what I read there, it's like a disillusionment. So it's like, how do you stay optimistic about this? Because I remember like, since I didn't used to vote when I first could vote when I turned 18, and then I started getting more actively involved in it. But since just before 2016, every single thing I voted in has come out the way I didn't vote. So it was like Brexit, governments, councillors, no matter what it was, it's always been the other side. And it's like, well, what the fuck is the point? And I remember last year during the George Floyd stuff, I started one of the petitions about the UK was importing all the riot gear and rubber bullets and stuff, and that picked up a load of traction. And I was dealing with like the campaign against arms trade and stuff, and then that fizzled out and nothing happened. And it's one of those things where it's like, how do you stay optimistic in this kind of thing when in the face of everything, it just seems to keep, shutting you down?
Yeah, that's a great heavy question. I honestly think for me, shifting away from electoralism was really helpful for my mental health, in that realizing that, like, I still go and vote in every election, just because to me it feels like harm reduction, but recognizing that's 5 minutes out of my day, and it's the beginning of the work. Whereas I think sometimes the way that politics is talked about in the United States, it's all about elections as opposed to, like, what are we doing to help each other?
Yeah.
So for me, things like getting involved with, like, the local, like, jail support and bail fund, or trying to, connect with people and things like mutual aid, where, like, how can we peer to peer meet each other's needs in a way that the state isn't? That's what gets me hopeful, and, like, connecting with people, like, on the ground, like going to a protest and, like, seeing other people and being in that community. Yeah, that's, like, anytime that I get off, like, I'm kind of tired and I get on a call and, like, things happen and we meet and share those values, and I realize I'm not alone in that, like, that makes me feel optimistic. And so that's, like, to tie it back to the music, that's where, like, when I play We'll Eat the Rich for Christmas at a show and people start singing along, I'm like, yeah, like, there's more of us than there are of them, like, never forget that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. It'll eventually switch because of how, not necessarily radicalized, but how important things seem to be now, and the younger generation do seem more, like, politically minded. Like, I'm hoping that in the next, like, 5 or so years, it's gonna swing back. Obviously, like, one of my dreams is to live long enough to see the monarchy get abolished over here. That's, like, what I'm holding out for. But it's one of those things where you kind of see the shift, and what's happening now is that clash of idealism and, the old guard trying to just, like, hold on to everything. And that's where a lot of the conflict is. But I'm just hoping that it's eventually they'll have to let go because of age or whatever. But it is one of those things to try and stay optimistic during all this.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, spite is a fantastic motivator.
It is.
I think spite is a perfectly great reason to get up in the morning and fight your good fight. So, yeah, sometimes it's hope, sometimes it's spite, whatever keeps you going. And sometimes it's just taking time to rest and take care of yourself. Like, don't let yourself get burnt out and feel like it's all on your shoulders, because there are more of us than there are on them, and that means that we can take a break too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's one of the big things was I just, like, don't engage with people on Facebook and stuff, because it's not
Big
a
mood.
battlefield that, like, actually changes anything when
You're
it's
never
like,
gonna win. Yeah.
So that was one of the big things for me, was, like, any political discourse on Facebook, I'm just not engaging in, because I don't see the point. When I remember when I talked about how I voted Labour in the first, like, 2016 elections, and I put up a thing being like, this is just to try for something better, and some guy just blasted me and was like, delete me then, and I just deleted him.
Oh. Word. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, people that I've cut out of my life and don't engage with just because, yeah, like, fuck fascists,
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird that seems to be a political statement now, but I was talking to a guy like Eli Gardner where it's not even political, it's just morals. And that's where I think the danger lies now, is people think it's a political issue when it's a moral issue. And it's been so cleverly worded that people think it's politics when it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, the idea of politics is like a sports game where you're rooting for your team or the other team, or like where it's all, what's the word? It's all like conjecture, for some people, and it's not materially affecting their lives. Like, it's always going to be a different conversation for sure.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. But, we're coming up to the hour, and I don't want to keep you too long, but what are kind of your plans? Obviously, you want to start recording demos things. Is there a, once the pandemic eases off, are you going to look at recording more, or are you going to come over to the UK? Because I definitely want to see you live at some point.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back to the UK. Have, friends I want to see and places I'd love to play. And
have you played over here before?
I haven't. I've just been, like, on holiday.
Where have you been over on a visit?
We just went to London and saw some shows in the West End, and then a couple days in Bristol, which was lovely. Cool. Like, saw, like, a silent film festival at the Old Vic. It was amazing. Had delicious vegan food. Yeah. Yeah, so it was a really nice trip just as a tourist, but definitely made me want to go play some gigs as well. Yeah, so I record like home studio, and I did Personhood at a studio, but Jigsaw Puzzles and Pink Wine was entirely self-produced at home. So I'm not necessarily wanting to, invest in working with other producers or big studios just because of my ambitions. That can be a really helpful thing as far as like industry connections, to have like a producer who's in this band or whatever. So definitely wanting to keep just having autonomy over my recordings and the arrangements, which has been really helpful just because my early experiences were very much like older white men making decisions about my songs and feeling like I didn't have ownership about the end product, like when I was a teenager or early in my 20s. So for me, yeah, reclaiming that, and then locally I try and work and produce some with like other women artists so that they feel really comfortable recording. Because I think it's a stressful process for anyone, but especially sometimes with a gender dynamic, you can really feel like discounted or like you're not listened to or appreciated. So working with them to have, a product they feel like is like songs that they feel like represent them and are true to what they sound live and like they feel really proud of. Yeah, so that's another good thing about being home more is that I have more time to mix and record a little bit.
Oh, cool. No, that's amazing. And obviously, you've got all that coming up. And is there anything you kind of binge watching at the moment? I think I've just hammered 4 seasons of Parks and Recreation in the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, I watched that one on air. It was a good one. We were definitely on the WandaVision train with everybody else. I feel like I need like a new show to really get into. There's nothing I've really been like sitting and watching in its entirety. So if you have any suggestions, I totally welcome them.
Yeah, I've not really been watching. Have you seen Ragnarok on Netflix, the Danish show?
No.
That's really good. I think it's Danish. It's set, I think, near Iceland. And it's these 2 kids move to a new town, and it's kind of the reincarnation of Thor and Loki, but it's not. And it's kind of like CW-esque, like high school drama mixed with Norse mythology. And it was amazing for one season.
So kind of campy.
Yeah. So, but that was really enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to season 2 of that. And the soundtrack for that was really good for Ragnarok. But at the moment, there's not really been much else that I've been really a fan of. I'm waiting for the Superman and Lois thing to come out at some point in the UK.
So you're big into like I know you and Rachel talked about comics a lot. You're big into like superheroes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got all my artwork here, but I love like the superhero kind of stuff. I've been into that for years, and obviously Netflix announced all the Redwall stuff that'll eventually be out soon.
Yeah, a kid I went to elementary school with got to meet Brian Jakes because he was like really ill and fortunately recovered, but as part of that, like got like a Make-A-Wish type situation. Got to meet him. Yeah.
Like I'm so jealous of everyone that got to meet Brian Jakes because I didn't realize he lived across the water from me because like I'm like Liverpool based and I never knew I could have gone to I assume he would have done a book signing around here at some point, but I didn't realize that until after he passed that he actually was local to me. I was gutted about that. But I'm really looking forward to Redwall stuff on Netflix, and at the moment with all the music stuff, I dropped every single TV show I was watching and just stopped everything. And now it's kind of like with my partner and things, I have the time or I try and make the time to actually sit down with her and chill out and switch off and actually watch something. So it's been interesting to try and get back into TV shows. She'll be watching Vikings and I stopped that at season 3 or something. I'm like, what's happened now? And everyone's dead.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's I have to catch up on a lot of shows real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I've found that my capacity to pay attention has definitely diminished some with just COVID brain, but wanting to watch some films that have come out recently, like Nomadland. Hopefully I'll watch soon. But yeah, maybe we'll write some songs about it. We'll see.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll let you go, but thanks so much for making the time.
It was so lovely to meet you.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully we'll get to do this again. If you have anything else, obviously you'll be welcome on this in a heartbeat, and hopefully I'll get to see you in the UK.
Give a shout if you're ever coming this way, for sure.
And that was episode 30 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. Thank you so much for listening. Please go check out Catherine the Great's music. It is fucking phenomenal. You will not be disappointed when you check out her music. I'm also listening to Mortifero's new record, Death Ballads. That's out on Van Records now, so go check that out. Please keep supporting the podcast. Leave a review on iTunes or Apple Music or wherever you listen to the podcast. It helps loads. And yeah, guys, keep supporting music, keep supporting podcasts, keep supporting everything you love because it makes a difference to the people doing it. And I hope it makes a difference to you supporting it as well. Until next time, guys, peace.